Hello, world. Good morning, good afternoon, and good morning or good evening, wherever you are and whatever your time zone is. I want to welcome you all to the 294th episode of today's or tonight's free international webinar brought to you by the Institute of Global Professionals or IGP. And we are coming to you live via StreamYard on Facebook and YouTube platform. Thank you all folks for finding time and attending tonight's or today's webinar. We hope you enjoy the program tonight, and if you do, please let us know. My name is Gafor Impanimbang, and I will be your host for tonight's or today's session. Presently, I am an assistant professor from Adyong Memorial Polytechnic State College here in Lanao del Sur, Philippines. And I'm also a proud member of the Institute of Global Professionals, which is sponsoring today's or tonight's webinar. The Institute of Global Professionals, or IGP, is an ISO certified training institute and a globally recognized multi-awarded international professional organization that provides free online and offline learning platforms for education and skills training for students and professionals alike, backed by international speakers and coaches from all over the world. We are a nonprofit training institute dedicated to making it possible for anyone to learn anything and anywhere for free online at any subject level. True to our mantra, feed your skill, it is our mission to empower people by providing an overall learning experience that meets your needs and helps you to achieve your life goals. We believe that free education, more than anything, has the power to break through boundaries and transform lives. Before we begin the webinar for tonight, I have a few notes to explain the format for tonight's program. Our speakers or presenters in this session will have a total of 45 minutes for their presentation. After the speaker's presentation, then we have to leave a time for a short question and answer session. So, if you have any content related questions for our speakers for tonight about their presentation, please type them into the chat box below. We will collect those questions and hold them for the Q&A session at the end of tonight's or today's event. We will bring your questions up on the screen and we will be reading them out loud so that our speaker in turn will respond to all of your questions throughout this session. We would like to get through as many of your questions as possible. Throughout the presentation, you will see a couple of questions pop up on your screen that would allow you guys to get engaged with us while the presentation is going on. And we appreciate you guys answering those questions coming in. Today or tonight's session is being recorded to be available for viewing post-conference on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. That's Institute of Global Professionals. We are using our FB page and our YouTube account to store webinar recordings and make them available for public viewing. After this session, we will be posting this recorded webinar on our YouTube channel and Facebook page for you to watch a replay in case you want to review anything. And we welcome you to revisit the content yourself and share it with your colleagues. And it would also be greatly appreciated if you could hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell for you to get notified every time we upload a new webinar video every single day. We regret to remind everyone that until now, our website is still undergoing a maintenance. Downloading your e-certificate as of the moment is not as seamless as anticipated. However, our team is still doing its best to restore the system back to normal. We suggest you to keep in touch with us always for further announcement, but you can still get those e-certificates you miss out once our system is fully restored. Hopefully, by this coming year, everything will work out fine for us. All right? We sincerely apologize for any inconvenience you may have experienced and appreciate your patience while we work diligently to resolve any outstanding issues. Your continued support is very much appreciated. And if you guys believe this program is useful to you, then why don't you help your friends to discover this free webinar? Feel free to share this program on your social media communities and suggest it to your family members, friends, and colleagues you care about so they can benefit from these programs too. And if you like this program, hit the like button and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done that yet already. All right? And if you have not yet joined the IGP, please consider joining in. And if you're interested in becoming a member of IGP, please feel free to reach out directly using our website at www.eduigp.com. And we would be happy to welcome you aboard and be part of our growing international professional community. All right. So today or tonight's episode, guys, is of particular interest to those of our teachers and instructors, researchers, and students alike out there because our topic for tonight is about uncovering academic research and writing. And you know what, guys? We are so fortunate to have invited a resource speakers all the way from India to share with us their expertise on the subject matter. So without further ado, I would now like to welcome our speakers for tonight or today's event, Mayushi and Akansha Sharma. All right. So let's dive right to it with our first speaker. Our first speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is currently a research scholar at the Sri Mata Vaishno Devi University from Katra, India. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Ma'am Ayushi on the show.
Good evening.
Welcome to the show, Ma'am Ayushi.
Thank you.
Yes, we're so glad to have you here.
Same here. Thank you so much for
Uh,
inviting me here.
yes, ma'am. But before you proceed with your presentation, before you get straight to your presentation, I wonder if you could add a little bit more about your short biography for our live audience. Okay, I think they are very much, curious about you and they want to know more about your short biography, including just a little bit of your accomplishments being a researcher. All right?
Yeah.
All
Uh,
right. So
so,
take it away.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ayushi. I am currently working as a research scholar here at Shrimata Vaishnadevi University. So, my topic of interest here is language documentation, and my presentation is also going to be about language documentation and language revitalization. So, I think it's going to interest a lot of you because language is something that is crucial to everyone out there. So this is going to be my topic of discussion. Let's see. And sir, do I have your permission to begin?
Sure. The floor is yours now, Ma'am Ayushi.
Okay. So I'll share my slide.
All right, you can now start sharing your screen.
Thank you. Is it visible?
Yes, we are now seeing on the screen your slides. All right.
Okay. So the topic of my presentation is language documentation and revitalization. Like I said, language is something that is close to everyone because language is not just a medium of communication, it's a way we express our thoughts, our ideas, our inner inhibitions, or anything, everything that we think about, everything we need to let people know. So, this is language is something that is crucial to everybody. Language is something that we uh, everybody, in fact, people who are not able to talk, who are dumb, also have certain kind of language through which they communicate, American sign language and so on and so forth. Even everybody needs a language to communicate. So this is my topic of today's presentation: language documentation and revitalization. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about now, what is language documentation? Language documentation, it's document the when you talk about language documentation, it's a record of language. It's a multi-purpose record of language that contains corpora for related to the research, related to your language that you are documenting. It has concepts that are drawn from various disciplines of research. So especially in the 21st century, language documentation has become something of paramount importance because as we see, there are languages that are getting extinct with every passing day. So, according to research, every 15 days a language dies, every 15 days a language disappears. So, let's say, for example, there is a island called Andaman and Nicobar in India, and the language that is the a language called Bo was a language that used to be spoken there, and the last speaker of that language died in 2010. And with the death of that person, with the death of that speaker, that language died away. So in this 21st century, where languages are being threatened, where there's a shift, there is a very clear shift of languages, where people are leaving their languages, where people are dying with their death, the language gets with their death, the language disappears. With their death, the language goes away, disappears. So it is very vital that we save our language, we preserve our language. They are on the verge of extinction, that we preserve it, we document it. So when I talk about language documentation, I'm talking about creating grammars, creating dictionaries, text collection for the languages that are undescribed before they disappear, before they get extinct. Now, when I say that language linguistic or language documentation contains a lot of methods that come from other disciplines also. It can be disciplines such as folklore studies, we have psychology, then there are concepts that are used for museum studies, digital humanities, pedagogy, and so on. So the next topic I'm talking about is language endangerment. Again, like I said, why do we need to document language? Because every few days, every 2 weeks, every 14 days, a language dies, a language disappears from the face of the earth. So endangered languages are the ones that are on the verge of dying. They are the ones that are on the verge of disappearing. Now, there can be a number of reasons why these languages are dying or disappearing. Sometimes it's because the speakers die out, which and this phenomenon is known as language death. That is, there are no speakers left alive who speak that particular language. The other phenomenon is language shift, where the speakers of a language, they start speaking, they start moving to another language. For example, now this is something that is happening very commonly in all the countries over the world. So today, in this world of 21st century, in this world of globalization, we are moving towards the English language for multiple reasons, of course, not only because it's a global language, but also because employment opportunities and so on and so forth. But in the in this process of learning a language like English, in the process of mastering this global language, what is happening is that we are leaving behind the language that has been taught to us by our parents, by our grandparents, the language that we need to call, or that we have called our mother tongue. So in this process, what we are doing, we're forgetting our mother tongue, which is now slowly and dying a painful death. So, according to UNESCO, there are 6 degrees of endangerment through which a language passes. So, this is the chart that shows language vitality. So, when I say language vitality, it indicates the ability of a language to endure as an individual language in a multicultural environment. So, any language that faces a lot of opposition or domination from other languages uh, is prone, or is at a risk of dying, is at a risk of disappearing. So these are the 6 degrees of endangerment. The first one is safe. For example, we have English. English can be called a safe language. Then we have German, then we have French. Let's say there's a new extremely popping up culture of like Korean is becoming extremely famous these days, especially with K-pop and K-drama everywhere. And then we have Spanish. There are so many Spanish shows that are available on social media, on social platforms. So these are languages that can be called as safe because there's a lot of literature on these. They can be found on social media, they can be found in books, they can be found, the speakers can be found everywhere. So that's a safe language. Then we have vulnerable language. Vulnerable language is one that is not spoken in social domains, that is not spoken everywhere. There are only people, they children might or might not know the language, but it is restricted. Then we come to endangered language. Now, endangered language is one that is not being taught to the children by their parents. Again, this happens due to multiple reasons. So sometimes parents do not want to teach the children a new language or their mother tongue because they feel that some other dominant language is more important. So again, we come back to English because English is a language that if you know English, there's a lot of opportunities open up for you. So parents do not prefer to teach their children their mother tongue because they feel that the future of the children will be more secure if they know a language like English. But again, here the entire purpose of my presentation is to let you know that in the process of learning something like English, are we forgetting something so crucial, something so important, something that has been so valuable for our ancestors, for our parents? A language does not just help you talk to others, but there are so many things attached to a language, like cultural activities or rituals, or maybe medicinal plants. And there are so many, a lot of corpora that is related to a language which dies away when a language dies. So that is the stage where endangered languages can be documented and they can be saved. So the next degree is severely endangered, where only the grandparents are speaking a language. The parents can understand it, but they are not teaching it to the children. The children do not understand the language. The second last category is critically endangered, where only the grandparents are speaking it, but that also they're not speaking very often. It's very rarely that these language is being spoken. There are maybe the parents might know a few words of that language, but there are no people, there are no speakers left of that language. And then the last one, that is extinct. That is, either the language is not spoken because the speakers of the language have died away, have passed away, or because they have moved towards different language, and because of passing of generations, the children do not know, or they are not even aware of that language anymore. So that's an extinct language. And the third thing about language endangerment is it's a very different process when you're documenting a language that is safe and versus documenting a language that is endangered. So again, like I said, English is a safe language. English is used everywhere. English is on social media. English is on, it's there. I mean, right now I'm talking in English, where our research is in English, everything, our curriculum is in English. So definitely it's a safe language. And there's German, there is French, and so many other languages that can be considered as safe language. So it's easy to research on these language. It's easy to document these languages. While on the other hand, if we have to document languages that are endangered, it becomes very difficult because there is no written literature. There can be no written documents on this language. They can, sometimes the speakers are not there, sometimes the speakers are not available, sometimes the speaker do not remember the language that we are talking about, or they find it difficult to remember. So it's very difficult to document an endangered language. But that is why it becomes even more pertinent, it becomes even more important that we document these endangered languages. Okay, so coming to, when I talk about language documentation, there are certain features that are associated with language documentation. The first one being the focus, which is on primary data. Now, in any kind of research, we come across these terms: primary data and secondary data, primary sources, secondary sources. So when I say primary data, it is the first hand data that I'm collecting. When I say primary source, it is people from whom I'm collecting this data, this first hand data. So my primary source in or primary source in language documentation is your native speakers. So a group of people who speak that language, they become my primary source of my research. While when I say the word secondary source, secondary sources include books, it includes magazines, it includes newspapers. So it is any kind of data that has been analyzed by someone else, any kind of data that has been made available by someone else, that forms a part of your secondary sources or secondary data. The second feature of language documentation is that it shows a concern for long-term storage and preservation of primary data. Now, again, like I said that every 2 weeks, every 15 days, a language dies. Every 14 days, a language is dying. So it becomes extremely important. Now, if we think about a time 10 years down the line, these languages, nobody's going to talk about these languages because they won't be there anymore. So again, we are going to focus on long term storage. So any kind of research that is done, it always has a long term goal in sight, so that in future researchers, students, anthropologists can use that data for further research. The third point, again, like I mentioned earlier, interdisciplinary methods. So language documentation also uses methods that can be derived from various disciplines. Now these days, a lot of research in language is happening on a lot of interdisciplinary subjects. For example, medicinal. Now a lot of research is happening in biotechnology, where the language used in biotechnology is being analyzed, and so on and so forth. So this can be applied to any, because language is something that is used everywhere in every field. So so in a business transaction, let's say, so language is being used in business transaction also. That, so that kind of language can also be analyzed. So linguistic, when we talk about language documentation, it uses a lot of methods that are interdisciplinary. The last feature of language documentation is that we need a close cooperation and direct involvement of the speech community. So when I say speech community, I am referring to a group of people who speak the same language, who speak the same dialect. Now, it is very important as a researcher, as a field worker, no matter in which field you are, in which area of research you are, when you go to the field, when you are talking, when you're taking data from people, it becomes very important that you become a part of their society, you become a part of their environment. So this method is called uh, immersive method, where you become, where you try to immerse yourself in the way they live, in the way they interact, in the way they speak their language, in order to learn more about their language. So it is very vital that you learn their uh, goals of their community. Not only, definitely your research is going to have a certain kind of goal, your research is going to have a certain kind of uh, a set pattern, but it becomes very important that these people, the speech community, these speakers, your informants also become a part of your research, so that they can help you out with so many questions that you might have, with so many discrepancies that you might have. Okay, moving on. So this is a couple of methods that I have mentioned, through which we can collect data and we can analyze them. The first one being recording. Now, audios and videos, definitely, in any kind of, if you're going to document a language, you will need audio messages and videos from the speakers, from the native speakers, in order to analyze them. A record is extremely necessary. And then for the text, we have questionnaires, and then we have interviews. Now, there can be different kind of interviews. There are different kind of questionnaires. Like, questionnaires can be computer questionnaires, telephone questionnaires. And for example, now, because we live in the time of corona, in 21st century, because we've been here, we've been caught up in our homes, and we've not been allowed to go out. So this time really forces us to rely on online interviews, online questionnaires, where we send questionnaires through emails, and we expect the informants to uh, send us the data through questionnaires. So, like interviews, when I say interviews, they can be of many types. It can be structured interviews, we can have semi structured interviews, then there are unstructured interviews that do not have fixed questions, that it depends on how the informants want to take the conversation, or how the informants want to answer your question based on certain criteria that can be kept in mind. Then we have personal interviews, that are face to face interviews. But again, the focus right now is on online interviews and online questionnaires, or online sources of data collection, because of the time that we're living in, because of how we cannot go to people, we cannot interview people face to face. Then the second step in data collection is transferring analog materials to the digital domain, which is obviously the any kind of physical data that you have on paper, in recordings, in the form of videos. So all of that needs to be transferred to the digital domain. Needs to be You need to have softwares. There are so many softwares in linguistics. We use softwares like elan, and we have toolbox, and we have prat, and so many other linguistic softwares that help in analyzing the speech. So it's important that we transfer this analog material to the digital domain. And then the third step is analysis. Analysis involves transcription, then there is translation of the data, when the data is translated in the target language, which is usually English in any research, in most of the researches. And then we have annotation. Annotation, I'm referring to bibliography, and I'm referring to referencing, and where you've taken the notes from, or where you've taken the quotes from. So all these things becomes a part of analysis. Then the next step is archiving, where uh, the rights have to be you have to follow some certain ethics, and you have to you have to assign access and usage, and give usage rights. The last step is mobilization, publication and distribution of materials in various forms. It could be in the form of a thesis, it could be in the form of a book, it could be in the form of a survey, it could be in the form of a documentary, it could be in the form of a periodical, so on and so forth. Okay, so the next part of my presentation is language revitalization. So when I say language documentation, I was talking about writing grammars, I was talking about compiling the data, I was talking about making dictionaries, having a corpora that can preserve the data that we have. But the next step, the practical step here, is language revitalization. Now, because so many languages are becoming extinct, we need to reverse this process. We need to reverse the decline of a language. We need to revive the languages that are getting extinct. So when I say language revitalization, I'm talking about an attempt to expand the number of speakers, and to promote the use of a language. So an effort that is made to maintain the current level of use, to protect the language from extinction. Then, so in when we're talking about language revitalization, the first begin with assessing the situation of individual languages. That is, we first try to locate what is the status of the language. Is it being spoken by everyone? Is it being spoken by a certain lesser population than it initially was? Are the speakers speaking that language in social situations? Are the speakers only using it at home? Are they teaching it to their kids? And so many questionnaires can be formed on this. A lot of surveys can be done to assess the language attitude. The next point is understanding the cause of decline or death. Now, why has a language declined? Why has a language died? It becomes very important that we understand this before trying to revitalize the language. Whether the language has died because the speakers have passed away, whether the speakers have moved to another language. If they have moved to another language, why? What is the reason? Why they have moved to another language? If it has declined, it becomes very important that we identify the underlying issues and we try to resolve them. And then engaging in public and political advocacy, it becomes vital that we promote this language. We promote it not only publicly but also politically. Documenting language is another step that we need to do to revitalize the language. And then again, working with the speech community that I mentioned earlier, uh, people who become a part, who we need to support their language, we need to support their efforts to revive their language. Now, these are the steps through which we can reverse this process of language shift. The first step here is acquisition of language by adults. Again, by promoting the language, we need to make sure first that the adults know the language, that the adults are learning to speak this language, that the adults are getting reacquainted with this language. The next step is gathering a population of active speakers. So, the first, when the adults have learned the language, the second step is to gather them together, to find a platform where they can come together, where they can interact with each other in that language. The third step, encouraging the informal use of language at home. Now, when you have taught these people, or when you have told them, or when you have tried to uh, when you have promoted that language enough and these adults have started speaking, so it becomes very important that they start speaking it at home, start using it informally. And then the next level, when it starts at home, then the next level is to take it at a personal level, that they're teaching this language to their children, so that they become literate in that language. Not just English, definitely English will be there in the curriculum, other languages are also there in the curriculum, but it becomes important that we teach that language also at a personal level. And the next step is compulsory use of language in state education. Again, here the political angle comes in, that it becomes important that the state education, the state schools, the government schools, they try to reinforce, or they try to reinstate the language by introducing a subject in the school education. And then again, the next step, we promote this language in the workplace, so that these are the steps through which language can be the process of language shift can be reversed, the language can be reinstated, and then to mass media, and then further to higher education, and to the in the government official, so that it becomes eventually it becomes the official language of that state. And this is how these are the steps how a language can be reinstated, this is how a language can be reversed, the decline in the language can be reversed, and it can be established from the level of extinct. The tag of extinct can be removed from the language, and it can be again established as a safe language, or less endangered language. Thank you. Sir, over to you.
Hello, sir. Unmute your microphone.
Sorry for that. Sorry for that. All right. Thank you, Ma'am Ayushi. We are so grateful to you for that amazing presentation you give us tonight. By all accounts, it was one of the greatest presentations I have ever witnessed. All right. You did a remarkable job. I particularly like your insight on language documentation, giving emphasis on the preservation and promotion of the mother tongue dialect. I think this is one of the dark sides of too much attachment in using English language, brought about by the concept of globalization, I think. Your presentation tonight would serve as an eye opener for as I was saying earlier, for the preservation of one's own language. That way, our youth of today could learn how to value their culture and take pride in their heritage. All right. So, we once again thank you, and we are hoping to have you again in our next series. So, ladies and gentlemen, join me in thanking Ma'am Ayushi all the way from India. All right.
Thank
So,
you so much.
yes, it's a pleasure, Ma'am Ayushi. And Ma'am Ayushi will join us again later for the question and answer portion of our webinar for tonight, happening after the online quiz game competition. All right. So, again, just a quick reminder, if you have any questions to Ma'am Ayushi, just send it in the comment section below, and we will bring that up during the question and answer portion later on. All right. All right. So, let's move right along with our second speaker for tonight. All right. She is also a research scholar from Sri Mata Vaishno Deve University from Katra, India. And currently, she is an assistant professor at Cluster University of Jammu, also from India. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are privileged to have Ma'am Akansha Sharma, also from India, joining us as our second speaker to shed light on the topic academic research and writing. All right. So, here we go.
Thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yes, we can now hear you clearly.
Thank you so much, Sir Gafoor, for such a nice and kind introduction. Uh, and now I would like to start off with my presentation. Shall I?
Or if you may, I wonder if you could add a little bit about your short biography to let our live audience know just a little bit
Yes,
about
yes,
your
definitely.
accomplishments.
Definitely. As Sir Gafoor has already told you that my name is Akanksha Sharma. I am a research scholar at Sri Mata Vaishno Devi University, Katra, India, and currently working as assistant professor at Cluster University of Jammu. And my research interests are linguistics, and I am working on the semantics of locative expressions in Hindi language in my PhD. And today I'll be talking about academic writing and how to write a research paper, as my co-scholar and my colleague has already talked about the documentation process and revitalization. So I'll just be continuing with that, by talking about research papers. How are we going to make it authentic? How are we going to make a work um, uh, authentic and published worthy? So yes, that is all. Shall I start now?
Sure.
Yeah, okay, I'll be
The
sharing
virtual
my
floors is
screen.
yours now. Yes,
Yes,
you
I'll
may now
be
start sharing your
sharing it.
screen.
Is it visible?
All right, let's wait for a few seconds. I think it's still loading, but in just a few seconds, it will pop up, hopefully.
Please let me know when it is visible.
I hope it will work out fine.
Is it visible? Shall I start?
As of now, not yet. All right. There
Yes.
you go.
Shall I start now? Yep.
Sure.
Okay, so the topic, as mentioned here, is how to write a research paper. So, as you all know, that writing a research paper is highly recommended and is highly required by all the researchers, so that they can make their work authentic. As Ayushi has already talked about, documentation process, like how necessary it is for all of us to document our language and to work on our languages. To get it to save it from extinction and endangerment. So I think the first step to follow that process is started off with writing your research paper and your research thesis, so that you can make your work authentic and you can get it published also. So before starting my this topic, I would like to ask my audience about their views on research. What research is? You can comment that in comment box. I'll read that later, but now I'll be starting off with my next slide, which is research. So basically, research is a combination of two words. That what I believe, that it is a combination of two words, re and search. First one is prefix and the second one is noun. And research is a derived noun that tells you about that talks about the systematic investigation, as mentioned in the slide also. So it is a derived word which has formed by adding prefix re to the word search to form research, which means to systematically investigate something. Okay, so what I believe and what I do is that before going or before further talking about or deliberating on certain topic, what is necessary as a linguist, what I believe is that what is necessary is to know the composition of words, composition of the topic that we are talking about, as we are talking about research. And through this word only we can understand the meaning of a topic. Like it is searching something that has already been searched. That is what we all are doing as a researcher. We are talking about the things that has been talked, but there are certain gaps always there, and we are trying to fill those gaps. So now, writing research papers are highly recognized in scholar fraternity. In addition to that, the published research work provides a big weightage to career growth and helps to get admission in reputed universities. Research scholars doing PhD, it has become mandatory to publish their research papers at international level academic journals or peer-reviewed journals. And many of the students who wish to apply for further studies in technical courses will discover that relevant published research papers help during admission process also. So in this presentation, I'll be enlisting the step that are required for writing a good research paper. um, and these steps are there in my next slide, which is the abstract. We start off always with the abstract, and then we move to the next point, which is next step, which is introduction, writing introduction of a research paper. And then there is literature review, then objectives, research methodology, data analysis, discussion and conclusion, and then references. So we'll be discussing about all these steps in detail in our further slides, in our next slides. But before talking about abstract introduction, I would like to talk about this research paper, what research paper is. So when we hear this word, what image comes into our mind as we hear those words: working with stacks or articles or books, hunting the treasure of other thoughts. Whatever image you create, it's a sure bet that you are envisioning sources of information. Like we are thinking about when we talk about research paper, the a picture that pops up in our mind is about books, articles, and corpora of literature and artwork, and in data collection, we envision reviewers, we envision people who are providing us data and other sources. Yet a research paper is more than the sum of that sources, more than a collection of different pieces of information about a topic, and more than a review of the literature in a field. uh, Further, a research paper is a piece of academic writing based on its author's original research work, one's particular topic, and the analysis and interpretation of research findings. Or, in other words, we can say that a research paper is an expanded essay that presents your own interpretation or evaluation or hypothesis or your argument on the base of other arguments that has been presented previously, that we present in this section of literature review, where we review the previous literature that is already presented on that particular topic that you're working on, and on the basis of those observation, we try to make another argument. We try to put the questions like why is it happening, why this is written this way. So these questions lead to the research, and further it takes the form of a research paper when we try to envision those questions again, and when we try to uncover those questions, when we try to answer those questions. Okay, so sometimes we feel like it is the writing a research paper is just like writing an essay, but it's not so. In an essay, when we are writing an essay in literature, we can add anything what we believe in, what is there in our mind. But writing a research paper is something different, because it is a systematic investigation. As I mentioned in my first slide, it is a systematic investigation into a particular topic. So it follows a systematic pattern, it follows particular steps. If you are writing a good research paper, these steps are need to be followed, these steps are need to be considered while writing your research paper. If we skip any of it, paper become a bit vague, of course, and it will lack that that perfection. So that is all about research paper. Now I'll move to the very first part, very first point of writing a research paper, which is writing an abstract. Few people or researcher start writing with introduction, start writing the research paper with introduction. But what I believe is that an abstract provide you a blueprint of what you're going to talk about. Am I audible?
Can hear you clearly. Okay, so you may proceed with the next slide, if you may.
Yes, yes. Thank you. I just want you to let me know that I'm not talking to myself and there is someone listening me. So thank you.
Yes, obviously we can hear you clearly. You may not proceed with your next slide, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So now I am talking about abstract, which is the first step. So it is a first step because it gives you an overview of what your paper is about. When a reader is reading, he or she might not know what you're talking about if you haven't written abstract. If you for him to know what is there in your paper, he or she might need to read all the paper. But if you have written abstract, if you have mentioned abstract, there are points that are needed to be added in this abstract, and these 5 points are methodology, aim of your paper, and then a background of your paper, like what is the background, the literature review of that paper, and what is going to be the conclusion of your paper. All these 5 points are to be included in your abstract. And as I've mentioned in the slide also, that it is a brief summary of a research paper. It appears at the very start of your manuscript, and it gives the reader an overview of your paper. It provides the main idea, like what you are talking about. It starts off with the aim. The aim of this paper is this. Okay, so this is about abstract. And few researchers starts writing their abstract at the very first point. As I too do that, I too prefer writing my abstract first, because it gives you an idea, it gives you a direction, and it also confines your thought process also, and which makes your topic very particular. And yes, next point is introduction. Next step in writing a research paper is introduction. After completing our abstract with keywords, we start writing our introduction, which is a primary step and a preliminary step of writing a research paper, wherein we start off writing about our topic, like what my topic is about. As if I am writing about a language, a particular language, for that matter, if I'm writing about English language, in introduction I'll be starting off with what this language is, what my paper is doing about this language. And then the next question that I'll be dealing with in this introduction part is why, what, and how. Like why I am considering this topic, what is this topic about, why I am considering this topic for my research, and how I am going to deal with all the section, and what I am going to deal with in all the sections, all the coming sections in my research paper. And the next point is that the introduction provides the brief about the topic. It again makes the reader aware about the topics, about the section that I am dealing with. It talks about the research questions, it poses the research objectives also, and it talks about the hypothesis that has been posed by the researcher. And the next point is that the introduction part tells you the background of the research. That means it tells you about the work that has already been done as we are researching. So there are researches that has already been done on that particular topic, and that is or that must be included in this part. Okay. Next point is next step in writing a research paper is literature review, which is very important when we start off writing a paper. uh, Before writing a paper, the first step is to reading a lot of literature on that particular topic, so that we can get an idea of or get an idea about the research gaps that lies there in our previous research. So basically this is the third step in writing a research paper, but it should be our first step. Before writing or before starting off with the research paper, it should be our first step, and which is reviewing a literature. To review the existing literature, we do that in our literature review, so that we can get an idea about the previous researches. We highlight the questions that have not been dealt in our previous research works, that have not been considered by other researchers in the research works, because there are always limitations when we write a good research paper. We end with limitations, and those limitations becomes the research gap for further researches that we consider in literature review. And as I said, it uncovers the research gaps that researcher is going to fill in this particular research paper. And the next point is to present different views and arguments to literature, what other authors have said, what other reviewer and what other researchers have said and talked about or stated about this particular topic. And the next step, which is followed by literature review, is the research methodology, and we write that after straight after literature review. And the methodology, as the name states itself, that it talks about the methods. Okay, sorry for the interruption. Yes. So, research methodology, it talks about the methods methods and techniques that has been used and that are being used by the researcher to collect the data, to incorporate the data, and to organize the data in that particular research. It highlights the method used for data collection, like Ayushi also talked about whether your data is secondary or primary. All that information must be included in this section, which is research methodology. And if we are considering, and definitely while writing a research paper, we are going to consider a corpora of literature. It could be an article, it could be a literature review, it could be a book, uh, an interview, or surveys and telephonic surveys. So all those material, all those data, or all those techniques must be included in this section, which is a research methodology, and it presents the techniques and method used to elucidate the data collection, also as whether you are using whether you are reviewing a book, particular book, if you are considering secondary data, or whether you are just describing a particular topic, or you are doing some scientific study or something. So that all is included in this research methodology part. And the next part, after research, now we have collected data, now we know the source of our data. Now we know the source of our data now, and the next part that is followed by this data collection is how we are going to analyze that data, and that is included in data and analysis part. In data and analysis, we categorize our data in different sections in tabular forms, and then we try to analyze it and interpret in our own ways, in our own particular manner. And then we present the preliminary finding, what are we finding about in that particular data. When collection is done in research methodology part, which is for, and then followed by data and analysis, we analyze the data that has been collected in this. And this section is thus followed by the discussion and conclusion part. We discuss in analysis, we have presented, we have mentioned the preliminary finding. Now, keeping in mind our hypothesis, keeping in mind our research statement, we try to elucidate whether uh, this analysis falls, or it follows our hypothesis or not, it whether it nullifies, or it justify our hypothesis or not. And that falls under this conclusion and discussion part. It comments on the findings of the research, it talks about the objectives that have been considered for this particular research. And then the next part is we sum up our findings and highlights the significance of the study in various areas, if it is significant to other researches. And as if we are talking about language documentation and language preservation, how significant it is to document a language, that all falls under discussion after we are done with the data and analysis part. And then we move further, we move to the next step, which is the outcomes. We elaborate on the outcomes of a study on the basis of data interpretation, the data that we have interpreted. And then we also write in our discussion and conclusion part, we also write the limitations, the topics that we have not considered, that we have skipped while writing this research. We write this with a scope. That means that this limitations provides the scope to the new research. It tells you that what is not considered in this research, and what should be, what would be or could be considered for further research. And then this part is followed by references, which is very important to make your work authentic. We enlist all the works that has been cited, all the references that has been cited in this particular research in an alphabetical manner. And there is this last point that I would like to mention also. As I mentioned that references is very important. It is important because we do not want to fall under this category of plagiarized. We don't want to want our paper to get plagiarized. So to avoid that, what we can do is add citations. We can add references. There are different referencing styles like APA, MLA, Chicago, and others. And plagiarism is a breach of academic integrity. It is like presenting someone else's work as yours without any acknowledgement or without any credibility. So that is um, not acceptable and is unethical, is considered unethical in academic writing. So to avoid this plagiarism, we can follow this last part, which is referencing and citation. And now I have added this clip from a paper which is about introduction, and introduction deals with, which is about research paper basically. And it is an overview of it in a flowchart manner, like what is research paper is all about. And as it is mentioned that introduction talks about why, what, and how question, then literature review tells you about why and how, and again methodology, like how you are going uh, to conduct your research, and then your data analysis, what you have conducted, what you have elucidated, what you have interpreted from that data that you collected. And then next is what is the limitation of your research, and then is followed by conclusion and referencing part. That is all. Thank you. If we have time, I would like to share a research paper. May I?
Sure, sure. I think
Yes,
we
I
still
would
have
like to.
time.
Yes, I would like to share a research paper, one of my research paper that recently got published, so that our viewers could get an idea of what a published research paper should be like. So yes, this is one of my research paper, which has been published in an international journal, Dialectologia. And this is a topic, and we start off with abstract, as I said in my presentation also. And it should be of 150 to 250 words, and it requires keywords. It should be 6 to 7. And then we move to our introduction part. Yes, introduction. And then these are the other sections that you can include in introduction also. Then it is followed by objectives and hypothesis, and then methodology. And after methodology, we talk about data and interpretation. So all the interpretations comes with your data. And in this paper, in this particular paper, I have mentioned the literary interpretation as well as the scientific linguistic interpretation as well, which was required. And while writing your interpretation, the points that need to be considered is what you have written in your objectives. It must follow the objectives also. And then the next part again is analysis. which is in interpretation we just provide the primary analysis, we just provide the preliminary interpretation of our data, and then we try to analyze it in this section, which is thus followed by our conclusion and then references. That's it.
All right,
Thank
there you go,
thank you so much.
ladies and gentlemen. All right, Ma'am Akansha Sharma, also from India. Right. Thank you so much, Ma'am Akansha Sharma, for providing us an opportunity to deepen our understanding on academic research writing.
Thank you so much for providing us with such a good platform where we can discuss and we can share our knowledge with number of audience all across the globe.
Yes, ma'am. It's our pleasure, actually. You have covered a lot on the ground as far as research writing process is concerned, from abstract part of the research process down to the conclusion part of the research. All right. Uh, I hope our live audience tonight would gain a considerable insight of the presentation that you gave us tonight. All right. We truly appreciate great lecturers like you. All right. And we once again thank you for such a commendable job. And we look forward to having you again in our next series. Your presence here definitely enrich our webinar. And for this, we remain grateful. Thank you again, Ma'am Akansha.
Thank you again. Thank you so much, the team also and the participant.
It's a
Yes.
pleasure. All right. Ma'am Akansha will be joining us again later for the question and answer portion. All right. But before that, let's say shout out first to Ma'am LV Nol Montalvo. All right. In appreciation for showing her continued support to IGP through her regular attendance in most of our webinars series conducted. For that reason, the Institute of Global Professional is pleased to award you its lifetime membership certificate for being a loyal follower of IGP. All right? Congratulations, Ma'am LV Nul Montalvo. All right? And an exciting and fun-filled online quiz game competition is up next. So brace yourself, guys. All right, so here we go. We now come to the fun-filled and exciting online quiz game competition. For those who wish to join, all you have to do, guys, is you simply go to slido.com using your own browser and your own device. All right. Once you land to that homepage of slido.com, you will see a window asking you as participant. And then all you have to do is you simply copy and paste. All right. The code that's being displayed on the screen now, that's IGP quiz. All right. All you have to do is you simply copy this one and paste to the window in slido.com homepage. Okay, you may also scan the QR code that's being displayed on the screen for easy access. All right. Okay, so once you're in, your name will now be automatically displayed on the screen. All right, that's it. So we have a shout out to Jeneline Vellier Resurrection. All right. Ma'am Anna Marie Joy A. Mercado, Romil Jan Aquino, Gemaline Rivera, Lee Fanconla, Daniel Malabaras o Malabarbas, sorry for that. Marivek Clavesilia, Jason Yumang, Carol Sipilio, Helbert Legaspi, Mari Gold Alog, and we have Romiel Hernandez, Jeneline Resurrection. All right, so more participants are coming in. Okay, we have 13 as of this time, but I think we have to give you guys a minute or two to settle and then we'll get underway. All right. So there are now 38 participants who have just joined in our quiz game competition for tonight. All right, brace yourself, guys. I think we're about to start. All right, the first question says, what is the name of the conceptual framework in which the research is carried out? Is it research paradigm or research design? All right, Slido is now tabulating your score for that first question. All right, the correct answer is research design. All right, 47 of our live audience or participants got the correct answer. All right, so Nico Den Ismero is our top scorer for this moment. He spent just 5 seconds in submitting his answer. That makes him on the top of the list. Okay? Make sure that you can submit your question as fast as you can because that's how Slido would rank your score. Not only, would rank you not only based on your score, but for how fast you can submit your question. Second question, it says, what is the main role of research in education? Is it A, to increase one's job prospects or to help an applicant in becoming a renowned educationalist? Slido, please reveal the correct answer. It's to help an applicant in becoming a renowned educationalist. All right. 54% of our participants got the correct answer. Neko Den Ismero is still on the top of the list with perfect score and 11 seconds. All right. For the third question, what does the longitudinal research approach actually deal with? Is it horizontal research or long-term research? All right. Again, be fast enough in submitting your question. Okay. All right. Are we okay? There you go. The correct answer is sorry for that. Long-term research. Congratulations. All right. Majority of you guys got the correct answer. That's long-term research. All right. So you can just see on the screen the results, the top five who are competing for the certificate of recognition for tonight's online quiz game competition. Nico Den Ismero is still our top scorer who was able to submit his answer in just a matter of 14 seconds. All right. So let's now proceed with our number 4 question. it says evaluation research is concerned with blank. Is it how we are, how well are we doing, or why are we doing? All right, the correct answer is how well are we doing? Okay, that's the concern of an evaluation research. All right, congratulations to you guys. Majority among you got the correct answer. Okay, Neko Dean Esmero is still unbeatable on the first spot. Sorry for that. Okay, followed by Jason Yumang. All right, here we go. Here we go with our fifth question. Which of the following does not correspond to characteristics of research? Is it A, or is it research is systematic, or research is not a process? In just a few seconds, Slido will now reveal the correct answer. Congratulations, guys! You've got the correct answer. Majority of you guys got the correct answer. It's research is not a process. That is one that is one of that is not the characteristic of a research actually. All right. All right. We have Jason Ewing this time being our top scorer. All right, with 43 seconds. All right, followed by Joel Bernasur, third Marigold Alog, fourth Leoncia Sumikat, and fifth Nico Den Esmero. Nico Den Esmero went down 4 notches this time. All right. Number 6 question. Which of the following is not the method of research? Is it survey or observation? All right. 3, 2, 1. By the way, guys, you have 15 seconds to answer the question. The correct answer is observation. All right. Again, congratulations. Majority of our live audience got the correct answer. That's observation. That's not a method of sorry for that, research. Jason is Yumang, all right, is still on the top of the list. All right, with 52 seconds spent in submitting his answer, followed by Joel Bernasur, Leoncar Sumikad, Neko Din Esmero is now on the fourth spot. Evelyn P. Wapiri on the fifth spot. We still have 3 questions left, guys. All right, number 7 question. It says, what is the main aim of interdisciplinary research? Is it to oversimplify the problem of research or to bring about the holistic approach to research? Time is up and Slido is now yes. The correct answer is to bring out the holistic approach to research. That's the main aim of interdisciplinary research. Again, congratulations, but majority of you guys, all right, got the correct answer. Jason is Yumang is still our top scorer as of this moment. All right. Okay. Joel A. Bernasur on the second spot, followed by Leoncia Arsumikad, Neko Din Ismero, and Evelyn P. Wapiri. All right. Don't you worry, guys, because we still have 2 questions remaining left. Number 8. In your research paper, you must include your research question in your introduction or in your thesis statement in your introduction or introduction, whatever. And the correct answer is in your introduction. All right, that's where you're going to include your research question on the introduction part. It's the chapter 1 of your research paper. Unfortunately, only 13% of you guys, all right, got a correct answer. All right, we have a new top one on the list. We have Leoncia R. Sumikad. Okay, guys, please, you have to ensure the fastest time response for you to get on the top of the list. All right, number 9 question, the second to the last question. It says, while writing a research paper, your goal is to persuade your reader or save your reader time. What is the goal of writing a research? Is it to persuade or just save the time? I mean, the reader time. The correct answer is persuade your reader. All right. Again, congratulations, guys. Majority, that's 81% among you, got the correct answer. All right. Now, Leoncia R. Sumikad was able to maintain his status being on the top of the list. And let's find out with our last question if she could maintain her spot being the number one on the rank. Last question, it says, copying words and ideas from a source and presenting them as your own is plagiarism or paraphrasing. 3, 2, 1, time is up. Slido, please tell us the correct. It's plagiarism, ladies and gentlemen. That's the correct answer. Plagiarism is copying words and ideas from another source and presenting it as your own. All right. So let's go back to the dashboard. Congratulations, Mom Leoncia R. Sumikad. All right. For being our top notcher, I would say, for tonight's online quiz game competition. Okay, congratulations to you and the other winners. We have on the second spot we have Ma'am Evelyn P. Wapiri, Joel A. Bernasur on the third spot. We have Farila Rizahe on the fourth spot, and then we have Marivek V. Clavesilia on the fifth spot, and on the number 6 spot, Neko Den is Miro. All right. Followed by Jason is Yumang on the 7th spot. And then on the 8th spot, we've got, I can hardly see the name. All right, there you go. We have on the 8th spot, we have Ida Ramirez Martinez. On the 9th spot is we have Corazon Quintana. And the last but not the least is we have Mari Gold Alog on the 10th spot. These 10 lucky winners will receive a certificate of recognition courtesy of the Institute of Global Professionals. Thank you all guys for your active participation on our online quiz game competition. All right, you are all winners. All right, so question and answer portion is up next. All right. So please prepare your questions and have it typed on the chat box below. All right. So again, thank you for your active participation. It's a pleasure to know that you're still there supporting us, guys. All right. So here we go. All right. Sorry for that. Okay, so let's now pave this way. Sorry for that. All right, so let's now pave this way for our question and answer portion, and we'd like to call that our two lovely ladies and gorgeous ladies from All right, so we're back. We're back to take some questions posed by our live audience for tonight. And our two gorgeous and lovely ladies from the beautiful country of India will be joining us again to answer for the questions prepared for us by our live audience for tonight's session. All right. So again, we would like to remind everyone, if you do have this question, kindly please type it in the comment section below, and we have to bring that up on the screen, okay, for our speakers to read and provide the necessary response or answer to your question. All right. So I think they are now preparing their question. All right. So do we have the first question so that we can bring it up on the screen? All right. All right. But before that, allow me to say shout out to our live audience who are in attendance, especially among those eager beaver. The eager beaver live audience. From our YouTube, we have Mom Mary Joy Sarmiento. Shout out to Alex Javier Alvarez. All right. Joan Boindia from YouTube platform. I'm sorry for that. Now, we have our first question this time from Sambra Taimur. All right. The question is, what is the major difference between academic writing and research writing? Okay, since none is indicated as to uh, who would like
Okay,
to answer the question,
yes.
and you can just decide among yourselves who's going to answer first.
Okay, I'll take this question. As
All right.
Samra has mentioned, what's the major difference between academic writing and research writing? And I think research writing is academic writing. If we are writing for academic work, and that is academic writing. And if we are writing just for the sake of researching something, that is research writing, if I am right. And I think we can also say that it is academic research writing, which is another topic that we can club in, like academic research writing that we talked about in our presentation. And just researching for the sake of researching something, and not getting it published, and not writing for any institution or academic writing, that is research writing, I guess. That is just a research writing.
All right. Thank you for answering that question. To sum it up, research writing is still part of academic writing.
Yes.
All right. All right. I hope that answer your question to the questionnaire. So we've got another one, this time from Namka Wangde. All right. He is asking, what are the different types of literature reviews and their purposes?
Okay. Okay. I would like to answer this question also. Like, I would like to tell or talk about the purpose of literature review, as I have mentioned in my slides also. Like the purpose, that main purpose that this literature review serves is, or reviewing a literature serves, is it provides the gap to the research for the further that can be further researched, and that can be further considered for research. So this is the main point or the main purpose, that this review of literature provides. And the different types of literature review would be like if we are reviewing an article, a paper, or if we are reviewing a book for that matter. And it could be an interview also. We can review interviews, and we can review someone's work, published work. And I think that is the basic different types that we'll get in while reviewing our literature. Because it does not limit, when we say literature, it does not limit to a certain book only, or certain paper only. It could be a paper, it could be just a document, published document, it could be an interview, or it could be some statements mentioned by writers and authors and academicians. So I guess that is the basic difference, and the purpose that I have told you, that the main purpose that literature review serves is provide the research gaps and research questions for the further research.
Yes, thank you,
I
ma'am, for that, for answering that question.
I hope it is clear.
Yes, and for sharing us the very purpose of having a literature review, and for even including in your insight about the types of literature reviews, even though it's not part of the presentation that you gave us tonight. All right. Okay. I think that would be, if you're going to discuss about the type of literature reviews, that would be an ideal if you could discuss it on another venue. That's quite lengthy
Yes,
for sure.
definitely, definitely.
Yes. All
That
right.
could
I
be a
hope that,
research gap.
yeah, definitely that's a research gap. And that's one of the purposes of having a research. I mean, to,
Yes,
having a literature review to identify the research gaps. All
yes.
right.
It
Very
provides you
well
another
said.
opportunity to that could be explored.
Yes. For possible exploration of a new problem that may arise. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we've got another question from Ray Shell. Okay, he is asking if she can use first person pronouns in writing research. I think this is a good question.
Yeah, this is a good question actually. But yeah, what I know is that while writing a research paper, we definitely not use I and first person pronoun. We refer it to the researcher, right? I guess I'm right in saying that. While writing a academic research paper, we always use the researcher, or the researcher has said that, but we never use I.
I link with your idea. In most of the research that I have read, never, never did I saw a research that used first person singular like I. Most of the researchers usually used third person singular like he or
Yeah,
she, and
yes, right.
they even called it the researcher utilize this particular type of tool, something like that.
Yeah,
He
even
well,
we avoid writing he or she. And instead of writing he or
yes,
she or I, we use the researcher has said that.
precisely. How about Ma'am
Yeah.
Ayushi? Are you also feeling the same?
Yes, personal pronouns are definitely not encouraged because it's not a personalized. I mean, the data usually you're using, the kind of research that we're talking about, it's not something that you can call it. I mean, it doesn't have to be so personalized. So, when you use the terms, the researcher, it's more professional. Like, for example, I use the term the linguist, the researcher, the student.
Yes.
So these are the terms that we normally use, and that are these are the professional terms that we use. So this is preferred.
Yes, and it sounds very professional when you use the researcher, the linguistic, or the third person singular she or he rather than I, which is too personal. All right, I think that's one of the protocol in writing research. All right, I hope that answered your question. And then we are now proceeding with another question, this time from Jeffrey Doctolero. Okay, he is asking if everything a researcher, he would like to know if everything a researcher put into his writing is true or made up, or something that he's making up. Okay.
I don't think there is any way of knowing that whether you've written whatever somebody has written is true or made up. Of course, there are plagiarism softwares. You can cut copy all their data and just put it online and check if it's plagiarized or not. But research is it's something about ethics. Research we value ethics a lot. So if you want to be a good researcher, if you want your research to be valued, if you want your dissertation to be valued, and your hard works should show. So if you're going to plagiarize, if you're going to pick up copied stuff, there is no point of calling it a research, because then what is your
Yes.
angle to it? You're not adding anything, it's you're just copy pasting stuff. So other than plagiarism software, I don't think you can just read and see, okay, this has been done before. So I don't think there is some short way other than plagiarism softwares.
Very well said, Ayushi. And I think this has something to do with ethics in research.
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
Part of the ethics of research is you have to do it in a very, you have to do it religiously. As what Ma'am Ayushi was saying, that if you do it, uh, if you well, if you fail to do it in a very religious way or in an honest way, so what's the purpose of conducting a research? After all, we are conducting research because we want to identify the existing problem. Okay, we want to present to the public that there is an existing problem that's going on. That's why we are conducting research. So if you fail to do it in an honest manner, in a very religious way, so what's the use of doing the research? It's just a waste of time, money, and energy, right? Maybe some people are doing this for some reasons. It could be for compliance only, because she or he wants to just have a grade. That's why she's they're just doing it for compliance purposes without taking into consideration the true essence of conducting a research. I think Mom Kansha has, as I see in her eyes, has more to say about this.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I wanted to add that what I feel is that there is no truth value related to any research paper when we're talking about, because it is based on our observation, our
Yes,
interpretation, right? So I cannot say that what you are saying, what the other researcher is saying, is true or not true. Uh, it is their interpretation, and it could be their interpretation, and specifically in social sciences research, there is no truth value. And another thing, as Ayushi said, that plagiarism softwares are there, and to make sure that what are reading is not plagiarized is to check the citations. If there are arguments also, if it's not just a story, not just an interpretation, but there are arguments also that are being posed by the other researchers. So I think that can tell you, that can suffice your answer whether this research is authentic or not, if there are
yes,
a good number of citations there.
yes. And most of the time, manipulations happen at the interpretation part of the of the
Yes, definitely.
research. All right.
Yes, definitely.
All right, very well said. Now let's proceed to another question, again from Samra Taimur. Okay, what are the problems while doing research? Or let's put it this way, what are the usual problems that we are actually encountering in doing a research? Can we put it that way? Or what are the challenges in doing research?
I think, yeah, Akansha, please go ahead. Yeah, yeah. Because there are endless answers to this question. I
Yes,
mean,
definitely.
yeah,
So
endless
we can
problems.
have a long discussion on these topics as we always do. So yeah, first obstacle is that we limit our literature. We limit our knowledge. If we read two and three papers and we say that we know the research gaps, and we start writing, and then there are not just one gap. There are a number of gaps that are there in our previous researches, and that makes us a bit confusing also, like what to talk about now, what to consider for our research. I think this is the first step. So if you are start thinking of writing a research paper, please set your goal. Please make sure what you want to talk about. And the other thing is that when we start working as a researcher, we become over ambitious also, and that is the thing that we should consider also. We should limit our topics, we should narrow
Yes.
down our topics. And this is the one point or advice that I would like to give the other researchers also. And um, and the other points are if we know the direction, as I mentioned in our slides today, that these are the set of uh, points that need to be considered while writing a research paper. These are the steps that need to be followed while writing a good research paper. So if we know that, if we know the structure, it becomes easy for a researcher to write a paper, to set up a paper. And I think that's all for now. Anything,
Yes, I
Ayushi?
yes, I link with your idea. The first part is the hardest part.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
you have this idea, but you are having a problem on how are you going to narrow down your topic into specific. That's the hardest part. I mean, when you are about to start writing your research, that's the hardest part. Coming up with a very, very, very specific title. But apart from that, there are many challenges along the way, and I think Ma'am Ayushi could give us her insight on the challenges of while you were conducting your research. What are those challenges that you're encountering along the way? Share us your memory.
Well, there are a lot of challenges. I mean, especially as somebody like me, as a field worker, I face a lot of challenges. Like when I have to talk to people. So,
Yes.
identifying speakers, it's so difficult to identify the informants. Either there are so many of them, everybody thinks they know the best, uh, or they are too little. I mean, there are you can hardly struggle to find the right kind of informant. So when you're talking about field work, there's going to be a lot of struggle. Then if you're working on something that is not close to you where you live, which means, so it's like basically my research in a remote town of my state. So it's really cold there. So this is one huge challenge that I face, that I'm not able to go to that field site very often. And with corona and this COVID happening and everything, I think it has impacted everybody's, I mean, not only studies, our research has been impacted so much. The resources they get limited. We are, we were forced to rely on online things. So in my research, I had to rely on people sending me WhatsApp voice notes. So that is, I mean, yes, of course, I had to get it done. So I had to rely on those voice notes. But imagine I am trying to document a language where I'm trying to where I'm trying to record all the sounds, and people are sending me voice notes because that's the only option left. So with COVID, a lot of research has been impacted so much. People have not been able to access their labs. If people, researchers who use lab frequently, so they're not able to do that. We are restricted to online resources, these conferences, everything is happening online. uh, I think a lot of things get left out in this online platform. I mean, face-to-face discussions are so much more. They're the more fruitful. So I think these are some things that have really impacted all of the students, all of the researchers, all of the teachers, everybody. In fact, all over the world, this is something that has impacted everybody.
Yes, precisely. The pandemic has a great impact on the academic aspect of our I mean, for every country is really that impacted. And I feel you when you say that you did have this problem on the choosing the right respondents when you are actually targeting the respondents from a remote town, and then especially when you are actually making use of qualitative research, like you have to conduct focus group discussion. And have you experienced wherein your respondents are just debating on one issue. I experienced the same. And those are the challenges that we are actually experiencing while doing our research in targeting a respondents, and even in generating their answer, their insights about the questions that we would like them to answer. All right. So it's a very challenging task. Okay. Anyway, that's part of it. All right, we have to we have to make ourselves immune with it. All right. Okay, so we've got another question, this time again from Jeffrey Doctolero. And he says, what if by chance we cited an unauthentic research from someone during academic thesis writing? Does that make our writing less valid, or and does it also affect the authenticity of our research? I think this is a good question. Okay, who's going to answer first?
Okay, you tell us. Who
Yes,
do you
Mom
want?
Kansha. Yes, Mom Kansha first.
Okay.
Okay, I will answer that. Okay, what I feel is that you are authenticating a work by citing that work. That is what is required. While that work is authentic or not is not a concern, I guess so. Uh, I believe that. I don't know whether it is right or not. So you can add your point, Ayushi, also, if you have any.
Oh,
Yes.
well, I mean, there are some sources that are definitely called as authentic, but obviously there is no way of knowing, especially if you're researching on something somebody has told. So normally we are citing them, we are referencing to them, we are saying that, okay, this person had said. Now, it's not something that you have said. It has, obviously you are citing someone else. So like Akansha
Yes.
said, definitely the onus is not on you. Yes, you have cited, but again you are building up on your own argument. It does not make your writing less valid. Definitely everybody would suggest, or we would suggest, our guides have suggested that reach out to or use sources that you know are authentic, as in like they should be published research papers or they should be books. So try to avoid any kind of predatory journal papers from predatory journals on. So but it's very difficult to identify sometimes that
Yes,
whether what you're
precisely.
using is authentic or not. But again, referencing, that is why referencing comes in very handy. Referencing is your lifesaver. As long as you're referencing, as long as you are mentioning where you've picked it up from, as long as you have your own argument in the making, I think that can help your research. So no, it won't make your research less valid.
Yes, precisely. That's not a problem of the researcher anymore. Whether it is authentic or not, for as long as you acknowledge the source and you put it in the reference, so I think I don't see any problem. All right. So that's it. All right. Anyway, thank you for sharing insight. I think that's a good question. All right. Okay, so I think we have covered all those questions posed by our live audience for tonight. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, if there are no further questions, I would like to bring this segment to a close and ask you guys to show your appreciation for our lovely and gorgeous speakers for tonight. We have Ma'am Ayushi and Ma'am Akansha Sharma, all the way from the beautiful country of India. All right. So, on behalf of IGP, we would like to express our heartfelt thanks and appreciation to our speakers for tonight for taking time off of their busy schedule and join us for tonight's webinar. All right. We hope that you have gained considerable insight into our discussion on academic research and writing. And to our live audience, your outstanding patience couldn't have come at a better time than when we needed each and every participant on board for long hours like this. Guys, you are nothing short of incredible. Thank you. Again, on behalf of the Institute of Global Professionals, I would like to thank you for your time and attention tonight and wish you a pleasant evening, morning, or afternoon. All right? Keep safe always. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.